in Quincy over the last 20 years has become a very prominent Chinese American community. It's mostly immigrant and Chinese speaking community, working class. And I think a big part of that is because of gentrification outside of the city. So, Chinatown's residential space has grown smaller and smaller, and I think because of that, essentially you see these suburbs that are growing in the Chinese community in these suburbs, like Quincy and like Malden, they're starting to grow a lot more. And so, my mother had this space, a bakery here in this space for 22 years before I took over. And a big part of that journey was essentially she came in when the Chinese folks started coming. And I think, in a time when she wasn't sure what this would, what Quincy would look like in 10 years, she took a risk and it became very fruitful and, it became a staple in the community. And so there's this legacy of kind of building from that I feel like, a very strong belonging to Quincy and to this community. I remember when I was here in this space, as a bakery, I was like 13 years old and I was kind of like wrapping bows and being a cashier and making tea and stuff like that. And so I think going from that to kind of like, standing here now and staring out the same window in a very different, time in my life and a very different kind of context in having my own restaurant, I think it's really meaningful for me and my family. And then I think the other piece of it is community. I think Quincy is just like growing and growing. And I think what we do is really offer something a bit different. I think coming from a Chinese American experience, I think, there's a lot more second generation Chinese Americans growing up in Quincy now, whose parents immigrated from China in different parts of China. As they grow up here, I think, they remember my mom's place. They grew up on my mom's place. And now, we can serve food that kind of speaks to that experience. It speaks to my experience.